Good morning and welcome to the Facebook Guided Meditations and More page. My name is Ade Richardson. This is a daily 8 a.m. Eastern Time meditation. We've also been doing interviews with spiritual teachers and seekers, various types of people who are coming on and sharing their wisdom with us. Today, I'm fortunate to have my dear friend, Cheikh Sufi. Cheikh, welcome.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. So just if you have any comments or questions for the Cheikh, I can try to get him the questions during the live feed if we have time. You can post the question below the video and I'll try to get it to him. If you have any questions or comments for me, you can also post it below the video or send me a direct message. If you want to be notified about the upcoming meditations and interviews and other things that I post on the page, you can like the page and you'll get all the updates and notifications. So we had started this interview a moment ago and we had some technical difficulties. So we are starting again. We did do a guided meditation, but we're not going to do that now. Maybe if there's time at the end, maybe the Cheikh will do another short meditation. But we'll get right into the interview. I'm just going to read a quick bio. Okay, Cheikh Abdallah Saliou Sufi has a bachelor's degree in biology from St. Augustine's College and a master's degree from Indiana University in secondary education. He's a member of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Am I saying that correctly? Is it?
Yes, pretty good, I think.
Okay, yeah, and I don't think it has anything to do with aliens and spaceships, but it's not that sci-fi.
No, but almost.
Sufi is an initiate of more than one Sufi order and system of self-realization. He is the first representative of his master, Serigne Saliou Mbacke. Is it Mbacke or? Mbacke. Here in the West. He has traveled to Senegal, West Africa 8 times since 1996 to study the science of the inner path. He lived in Senegal for 2 years from 2002 to 2004 to complete his training on the mystic path. He has self-published 11 books with more to come. I've read a few of them and enjoyed them very much. And we'll also post a link in the description for where they can find your books.
Okay.
People can find them. He is the founder of the Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba Sufi school here in the West. He provides the service of Sufi initiation, spiritual guidance, talisman making, spiritual blessings, magic curse removal, and house blessings and purification. He was made a sheikh by his sheikh, Serigne Modou Seck, from the holy city of Touba in 2016. Sufi is available for lectures, storytelling, and workshops around the country and abroad. So just to share a little quickly, as I was saying before, about how I met Sufi. I met him through my wife, Christina Sokno Fatima. She is also a practicing Sufi. She's been doing it for many years, and she introduced me to the Sufi way of life and would invite me and the kids to Zikr circle. And I think that's where I first met Cheikh Sufi. Yeah. And I just remember feeling just a warm embrace at the heart, from him. I felt just very warm, and the experience was one that I've always cherished. And, going to the Zikr circles, if you've never gone to one, find one and go. The energy is great. I just felt a lot of love. And so we've since have kept in contact, and I'm a filmmaker as well, so we've actually been doing some film projects that I kind of convince him to do with very little convincing. He's always usually up to it. And yeah.
Your production is the best videos on my site. They make the other videos on my YouTube channel look like a high school person did it.
Thank you.
Yes, incredible production.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So for those who may have never, this might be their first time hearing about Sufism, can you give them the sort of Sufi 101, if that's possible?
Very possible. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My sheikh, my teacher in West Africa, he said, Sufism should be able to be understood by someone in the 5th or 6th grade. So it's supposed to be a simple path based on loving God. It's a path based on reconnecting with God inside of yourself before you leave the body. The Sufi says, I want to be with God now, not after the so-called death. So Sufism is a path for God realization, and ultimately you will realize that your true self, your higher self, and God are one and the same. So Sufism is a path of gnosis, a path of knowing the self, and a path of regaining that state of oneness with God before the allegorical fall of Adam.
Okay. And when you say the knowing the self, so there's the practice of, so, you know, someone might be listening to this and they may be saying, well, okay, I know myself. My name is Mike. I'm a, you know, a carpenter, a mailman. I am 30-something years old. You know, I'm married. You know, I'm whatever ethnicity I am. You know, I know myself. So that part is already crossed off the list. And I take it you would come back with something.
Yes, because in Sufism, as well as in Buddhism and Hinduism, Taoism, Kemetic philosophy, the ancient mystics have come to discover there is such a thing as the true self and the false self, or what some schools of thought call the higher self and the lower self. The lower self is an actor on a stage that was built by the society that you were born into. You become an actor in a society playing a role, just like it's a lights, camera, action. Okay, I'm a teacher. Lights, camera, action. Okay, I'm a janitor. Lights, camera, action. Okay, I'm a doctor. But none of that is you. If I ask all the viewers to point to their self, 9 out of 10 people, they point right here. Because innately, every human being knows that there is another aspect of their self that is not related to the outside world and programming and society. And this self can easily be seen in what we call a dream state.
Yeah.
You will know for sure that there are two selves, because when you go to sleep, you are asleep, but there's an aspect of you that is awake that witnesses the dream. Who is that? If you are asleep, but there's an aspect of you that is awake and witnesses the dream, and then when you wake up, this other self tells you what you saw in your dream, that's clearly two selves right there.
Yeah.
That self that doesn't go to sleep, that sees the dream while you are sleeping, that is your true self. So we seek to identify with that, because that self has no birth and no death, no aging and no sickness, and no fluctuation of the mind and emotions. That is the eternal self that we have come to forget about, because we are so accustomed to the false self and the actor on the stage.
Okay. So part of it sounds like part of the path is perhaps deprogram or peeling the onion, like going backwards.
Yes. I would say in mathematics, Sufism is a path of subtraction, not a path of addition.
Okay.
Sufism is the subtraction of everything that you accumulated during your life that's blocking the light of God from shining.
Yeah.
So Sufism is a cleaning of the slate of the mind and the heart, because the light of God is already there. It's not like we have to add something to who we already are. It's a removal of the thoughts, words, and actions, deeds, states of mind and consciousness that's blocking that divine luminous wisdom of God from shining through the person, because God is already there. If you're breathing in and out, God is there.
Yeah. And so, going back to the actor analogy, so it sounds like if we were, let's say, a method actor, and it sounds like what happened with us is we've kind of got stuck in the role. Usually when an actor goes home, they leave the role, they take off the costume.
Yeah, right,
and
right.
So we're carrying it. We're this mobster with our wife and our kids. We're still thinking that we're this role.
The mechanic goes home and he thinks he's a mechanic.
Yeah.
The doctor goes home, thinks he's a doctor. The lawyer goes home and thinks she's a lawyer. But all along, they were God having a human experience.
Yeah.
And the path of the mystic is to turn from the outer world and go inside of the self. Just as, I love this analogy, you have the 5 senses: feeling, taste, touch, hearing, and smell. It's synonymous to, have you seen a turtle? A turtle has 5 limbs and it pushes the limbs out to engage with the world. Well, just as a turtle pulls in its 5 limbs inside the shell, through the process of meditation, the mystic pulls his 5 senses back into his self to go into the heart to find God. It's a withdrawal of the senses from the outer world through meditation. And in the Bible, it says, be still and know that I am God.
Yeah.
This being still is not about stilling the body. It's about stilling the mind so that you can find God inside of yourself. Just as a turtle pulls its 5 limbs inside during meditation, we have to refocus our 5 senses inside on the light and sound of God.
Okay. And so there's techniques that we can use to turn within. And what about people who have, let's say, a lot of desires? They very intense desires, or even to the point of, let's say, addictions and traumas, where they're really feeling this, feeling hooked, for lack of a better word. But there's the thoughts, but then they feel the physical component related to that as well. So they really feel like this flesh and bones. So is there a way to
for a person like that, we recommend they pull back from society and find a way to spend some time in nature without your cell phone.
Yeah.
If you could just go sit in the park and turn your phone off for 20 minutes and be with yourself. If you could go sit by a lake, sit by a river, and just be with yourself and calm your mind and focus inwardly on the third eye or the heart center and use some mantra. Mantra is in Sanskrit, in Arabic we call it zikr, but the words of power were used to still the mind and focus on God. So it's like, if you're in the Buddhist tradition from Tibet, they chant Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. It's chanted in Buddhism. If you're in Hinduism, they chant Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya.
Yeah.
In the Sufi path, we chant La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. And what you find out is that chanting is a universal truth.
Yeah.
Chanting is a universal truth. The Hare Krishna movement, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, their motto is chant and be happy. Just chant Krishna and be happy.
Yeah.
So if you see something in every spiritual tradition, if there's a practice that you see in every religion, that means it's a universal truth. It's not bound by that religion. If you go to the Catholic priests and nuns, they have a rosary and they chant Hail Mary, Mother of God. The Catholic nuns and priests are chanting on their rosary beads. The Sufi is chanting on his dhikr beads. The Buddhist and Hindu is chanting on their mala beads. So if you see this in every tradition chanting, you might want to try some of that chanting, because it's not specific to, if you say, oh, well, just the Sufis, you guys are the only ones doing chanting, it's probably not true. But when you see it in every religion, in ancient Egypt, they had Hakau. In ancient Egypt, it was called Hakau, where the priest in the temple, the Hierophant, would chant words of power. So this is a universal practice. So for stilling the mind, for knowing the self, you should find a teacher or a guide who can instruct you in this path of chanting or zikr or mantra, so that you can learn some words of power to regain control of your mind, because everything starts with the mind. The mind is the forerunner of all events. So when you start the chanting, you're focusing your mind on words of power or words of praise, and by doing that, you can still the mind. And when the mind is still, you can enter into the heart through a still mind.
Yeah, and let's talk. You mentioned La ilaha illallah, and that's one of my favorites. You know, so much so that we did a video,
Yeah.
and which I'll if people are interested in watching, I'll post it on this page. But can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I would love to. In all the mystical systems of the world, each one has words of power, as we were speaking of. In our system, the Sufi system, the beginning of the path is to chant La ilaha illallah. And the end of the path is to chant La ilaha illallah. Now, La ilaha illallah is sacred words that mean there's only one God. There's none worthy of worship but God. These are outward meanings. The prayers in Sufism and also in other traditions, there's an exoteric outer meaning for the general public. La ilaha illallah exoterically means there's none worthy of worship but Allah, there's only one God. But when you get to the inner meanings of La ilaha illallah, it essentially means everything is an illusion except for God. Yeah. Getting into this concept of Maya and the mind creating illusion. And Allah, the changeless being, is the only reality. So La ilaha illallah has 7 syllables. La, I, La, Ha, Il, Ha, La. Those 7 syllables can be used to open the 7 chakras, to align the 7 chakras, and to travel through consciousness into the heart. Because Prophet Muhammad said everything has a polish, and he said the polish for your heart is to recite La ilaha illallah. Yeah. So we all know the Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, he says the kingdom of heaven is within, and we know God is in this so-called heaven. So if the kingdom of heaven is within and God is in heaven, then God lives inside of you. So you chant this La ilaha illallah to open the heart and travel into the light inside of yourself. And it's a very effective tool for stilling the mind. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. Once you start chanting La ilaha illallah, everything in your life will change. I guarantee it.
Well, you talk about Maya, illusion. So when you're mentioning Maya, and the dream state and the illusion, does that mean that there is nothing there, that it's, or is it that we can't, with our 5 senses, we can't, what we see is not the reality? In other words, there's a reality there, but with our conditioned mind, we're not seeing, the reality.
Yeah.
Like this table seems like a table, like a solid table, but even physics will say it's not as
Yeah.
we perceive it.
There's a verse in the Quran where Allah says, at the time of death, your eyesight will become clear. At the time of death, your eyesight will become clear. And the Prophet Muhammad says, people are awake, people are asleep, and at the time of death, you will awaken. So you have to awaken from the dream state of what we call extended dream state. In Hinduism and Buddhism, they have the concept that the awakened state is nothing but the extension of the dream state. They say that when you're asleep, and when you wake up, you're still asleep.
Yeah.
It's like a dream inside of a dream, and the Buddha was called the awakened one. Why was he called the awakened? He had awoken from the concept of duality. As long as you're in the concept of I exist here and God exists here, this is duality, this is a dream state. Once you get to the state where I and God are one, you begin to wake up from this concept of duality and realize who you truly are. It's what we call in esoteric traditions, Marifat. In some traditions, they will call it Turiya, the fourth state of consciousness. We have the dream state, the sleeping state, the waking state, and the fourth state of consciousness is a heightened sense of awareness that makes the awakened state look like it's sleep. So to a true master, everyone appears to be asleep.
Yeah.
Because they're in the awakened state of consciousness.
So, and when you say that part of the journey is this, and looking within, looking for God within and realizing that there is no separation, but not to be confused with the finger, pointing
to the moon.
Yeah. So, not that if you go around saying, God and I are one, doesn't mean that you've had that experience.
Yes, it doesn't mean you've had that experience. But it takes time. It has to do with removing the conditioning we receive from our society. One of my teachers said, you have to hear this teaching over and over and over again. You are God, 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 you are God. You have to hear this teaching over and over again until you decide to go on a journey to discover that you are God. The Sufi proverb says, I set out on a journey to find myself and I found God.
Yeah.
And I set out on a journey to find God and I found myself. I have an essay where I describe that God is playing a strange game of hide and seek and you are in the way.
Yeah.
God is looking for herself and your false ego and personality. Ego means to ease God out.
Yeah.
Your false personality is easing God out of your reality. Why can't you be God at work? Why can't you be God with your family? I told people, it's natural for you to become God. This is natural. People say, oh, these people are mystics. It's mystical to be anything other than God. If you look at everything in nature, you cannot name one thing in nature that does not evolve back into the being that it came from. An oak seed becomes an oak tree.
Yeah.
A minnow becomes a fish. A calf becomes a horse. A baby elephant becomes an elephant. Everything in the universe goes back to that which it created it as its form of being. We were created by God. It's natural for us to go back to being one with our Creator. This is what we see in nature. It's not natural for you to not be God. That's unnatural. So when everything in nature becomes its creator, that is what is natural. So this is not really a mystic path. It just looks mystical because 85% of the people are into that false actor.
Yeah. So it seemed like it's the other way around. This is the most normal that we've gotten out of.
People think that I pray and zikr and chant all day, and people think that's mystical. But I can't figure out how somebody can go to work from 9 to 5 all day and not think about God once. That's mystical to me. You went all day and didn't think about God? That's mystical, man. I can't figure that out. I can't figure it out. You went all day, text 100 people, and you didn't think about Allah, God, Jesus, Krishna, Muhammad, Buddha one time? Man, that's mystical. How did you do that?
So it sounds like the path that you are on and others like you is more of the kind of a direct way. So let's say that someone is texting or whatever they're doing. They have these desires. They're trying to get and get and get. Is it that on some level there is this soul's desire to get closer to God? So in some just misdirected way, their desires and their striving after, although it's in the wrong direction, it is to find God.
Yes. Baba Mahayadeen, the great Sufi master from Sri Lanka, he says, the only desire that can be fulfilled is the desire for God.
Yeah.
Any other desire cannot be fulfilled. I desire a cup of coffee. Man, when this cup is gone, I'm gonna want another cup of coffee later. This ain't gonna be enough. I desire a 2020 Mercedes Benz. Man, when that 2021 Benz come out next year, I'm gonna want that one too.
Yeah.
So desire for things on the outside world is insatiable. You can't cure it. Yeah. But the true desire is the desire for the soul to know and be God again.
So it sounds like even that starting point of separation, perhaps it happens several times throughout the day. So for example, maybe I want to do something to get some sort of approval. So I'm approval seeking. I want some recognition.
Yeah.
So that movement from this center, from this space, from this, stillness, so that movement from here it sounds like it's taken me away from, if I would just move from here, you could maybe talk about this spontaneity, but just relaxing in this heart rather than, as soon as I'm moving from there, it sounds like what you're saying, it creates this split, this kind of almost like schizophrenic sort of thing.
Yeah, and there's a proverb that says, be in the world but not of the world.
Yeah.
The true mystic or the true Sufi is meditation in motion.
Yeah.
I go to the grocery store to buy food. When I go in the grocery store, I'm doing zikr, I'm reciting God's name. So I'm not just buying food, I'm still worshiping. Wherever you go, take God with you, is the message of the Sufi. Wherever you go, take God with you. Don't just pray in the mosque and leave Allah in the mosque on Friday. Don't just pray in the church on Sunday and leave God in the church on Sunday. Don't just go to the temple on Monday and chant and leave God in the temple on Monday. The Sufi says, take God with you wherever you go. Keep your mind focused on Allah. Yeah. So then if I'm washing the dishes at home, I could be doing the dishes and saying La ilaha illallah on the inside.
Yeah.
I could be at work as a lawyer, sitting at my desk, talking to my supervisor, but on the inside I'm saying La ilaha illallah.
Yeah.
I could be riding the bus. One time I was riding the bus in Philadelphia and I was doing the zikr and my mouth was moving because I was reciting the mantra. I'll never forget it. A little girl on the bus, she was about 16, was sitting across from me. She said, "Sir, are you okay?" I said, yes. Why? You actually said, you've been talking to yourself the whole ride. I thought you were kind of up. But you've been talking to yourself the whole ride. I said, oh, I'm chanting, I'm doing prayers. That's why you see my lips moving. I'm praying. She said, oh, I thought you were having some kind of nervous breakdown. I'm glad you're okay. So we have to take God with us wherever we go.
Yeah.
In the grocery store, at work, driving in the car, recite God's name.
And someone that's listening to this may think, wow, that's a lot of work, that's a lot of effort, but it also sounds like that when you're centered in God, as you're speaking of, it's this place of peace. So it's not like, rather than it's like you're already full. You're full of this peace. Why go out and try to get what you already have? So this constant staying here.
Listen, if you have someone who's doing this, I tell people, if you're a Buddhist, be Buddha. If you're a Hindu, be Krishna. If you're a Christian, be Jesus. If you're a Muslim, be Muhammad. Let's say you have some viewers that are practicing Christianity. If you're practicing Christianity, I guarantee you, if you say the Lord's Prayer, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. If you sit in your house and chant the Lord's Prayer 10 times before you go out, you will feel a difference just from chanting the Lord's Prayer in English.
Yeah.
Now imagine if you chant the Lord's Prayer 10 times in the morning, go out to work, then you're taking the angels of God with you. Then at night, you sit and chant the Lord's Prayer 10 times before you go to sleep. That chanting just with the Lord's Prayer is going to change you.
Yeah.
And this is in English. So what if you learn some words in Sanskrit or some prayers in Arabic that have a higher vibration? Woo!
Yeah.
If chanting the Lord's Prayer in English can do it, what do you think Al-Fatiha in Arabic is going to do? Because it's all about centering yourself in God and then interacting in the world from a place of oneness with God.
Beautiful. And this, there's a passage that was on my mind lately, and wherever you turn, there is the face of God. So that's one part of it, and the part that seems a little bit of a contradiction that I was trying to work on is the next part. There is nothing whatever like him.
Yes, this is a very beautiful verse in the Quran. Wherever you turn, there's the face of God, and there is nothing like God. There's two philosophies. Some people say the world is God, and some people say the world is not God.
Yeah.
So, from the viewpoint of what we call non-dual Advaita, there is no other being that exists other than God that could be the foundation of the universe. There's no other being other than God is, in fact, the fabric of the universe. When the Quran says everywhere you look, there's the face of God, Allah is trying to tell you, you're seeing God in nature, you're seeing God in the people, but you don't perceive this being of God as being what you're witnessing.
Yeah.
My Sufi Sheikh says, if you see anything in creation and don't see the presence of God manifesting through that creation, then you're not truly aware of the oneness of God. The Sheikh said, no matter what you see, you should see God manifesting through that being.
What about that seemingly difficult person? Maybe you meet someone at work and they're always giving you a hard time. They're really, really triggering you and saying things that you don't like.
And those people are really your best friends, because the person who gets on your nerves, the person who is bothering you at work, is the person that's giving you a chance to better and improve yourself.
Yeah.
You only know the strength of a warrior by their enemy. A guy could be practicing Shaolin Kung Fu for 20 years, and he don't know how good his Kung Fu is to that asshole try to say something to his daughter in the grocery store.
Yeah.
That's when you find out how good his Kung Fu is. So what you think is an enemy is not really an enemy. It's giving you a chance to improve yourself. Why is this person bothering me? Anybody who's pressing your buttons is really a teacher trying to teach you a lesson for self-improvement. So in fact, they're your friend and your teacher. But you look at it like, oh, my boss is bothering me. She's asking me to turn in my report by 5 o'clock. Why is she? You knew she was going to ask for the report at 5 o'clock. You have the problem. Being angry with her is your problem. You knew she wanted the report. Now she asked for it and you're angry. That's your problem, not her problem.
Yeah.
So people need to find a way to have peace of mind. I remember I was working at a job one time and I got fired from the job. I had a nice office desk here in Philadelphia. I was a case manager at a GED program for people getting their lives together. One of the people on my case, one of the people on my caseload came to the school Monday morning, came in my office and said he thought about committing suicide over the weekend. So I told the young man, hey, if you're feeling that depressed and sad, you don't have to go to class today. I want you to go home, get yourself together, and come back to school tomorrow. Because he was sad, depressed, ready to cry in the office. I told him, don't go in the classroom, go home, come back tomorrow. They fired me because they said they were liable because I let him go home and didn't make him stay at school. So when they went to fire me, I just got up and walked out, left all my shit in the office. It was like, you don't want none of your stuff? I was like, I'm not attached to none of that stuff. I'm out. You don't want to talk to the person to see if you, no, I'm out. I just got up and walked out of the office. The other employee was like, this guy is nuts. He didn't say nothing. As soon as the lady came, said, you're fired, I just got up and walked out and left. Non-attached, no argument, nothing. Because I have a level of peace inside of me that's not from anything on the outside world.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. And also, would you say that, let's say you're looking at someone else and you're saying this person is a very angry or nasty person, this coworker at work, and you're feeling, this person's always, in a bad mood, but you're feeling, where is that experience happening? Is that really who that person is, or is the experience happening within yourself?
In Buddhism, we have this concept of projection. We project our ideas onto others, and it might not even be the reality. We perceive somebody as being angry. They might not even be angry. They might have had some sickness that's causing them to act differently at work that day. Yeah. So we project our views onto others, and oftentimes our projections are totally erroneous. They're not real. So we have to get to a point of non-attachment. Buddha says attachment is the root cause of suffering. We have an attachment to the way we think things should be. Yeah. And when things are not the way we are attached to them being conceptually, it creates problems for us. Yeah. Let go of the attachment of the way you think the world should be and just be in the world as you are. One of our favorite teachers is Ramana Maharshi. Mm-hmm. You and I went to his ashram in Mount Vernon. He has a book called Be As You Are. Just be as you are, be natural. Yeah. Do not project your own concepts onto others. Try to be free of the the projections so that you can maintain internal peace.
Yeah. So it sounds like when we're able, and it sounds like this comes in time with practice and with continuing chanting and looking within, because it sounds like what you're saying is we're able to sort of see through the conceptual overlays that the programs and everything that we've been given, and get to this, maybe ultimately this place of kind of soup of energy and awareness. So coming down, like when we get through the concept of what anger is, the concept of what the fear is, or the anxiety is, we get to a energy that's taken different form and has a different sort of experiential component, a sort of flavor to it.
Only exists in your mind.
Yeah.
If you ask yourself, where is anger? Can you take a picture of anger?
No.
Can you take a picture of sadness?
No.
Can you take a picture of jealousy? All of these are concepts, and all concepts are empty.
Yeah.
You have this idea that you're angry, and that exists in your mind, but in reality, it's just a thought.
So you're creating it.
So you're angry.
So is this? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just a thought. Change your thinking, change your reality. The mystics say, if you change the way you see things, the things you see will change.
Yeah.
If you can change, the Quran says, I do not change the condition of a people until they change that which is within themselves. So the change must first come from within, where you're looking at these emotions as not the self. The emotions you feel are not you. There's like the true self, and the emotions are surrounding the self. It's not your true self. Anything that changes is not you. The true self is immortal. I want to tell everyone, if you want to know yourself, you need to read these books called the Upanishads. The Upanishads are the highest books on the planet Earth, in my opinion, on knowing who you are. Upanishads means sit close and listen. Upanishads were written by mystics in India who lived in caves for years. And this mystic would be in the cave meditating for 20 years. And he would come out, and the disciples would sit close to him and listen. That's why it's called Upanishads. Sit close and listen. Sit close to the one who was praying for years and hear what they had to say. And in these Upanishads, you find the highest philosophy and doctrine on the self and who you are. One of the reasons I like the Upanishads is because they don't use the word God in the book. The real translation of Upanishads, where it would say God, it will say self.
Yeah.
The self is eternal. The self is all. The self is luminous. The self has no death. The self has no birth. The self is all-knowing. The self is omnipresent. The self is all-powerful. It sounds like they're talking about God, but they're really describing your true self, which is God. So it does take some study, because we have been programmed with the wrong idea that God is outside of us in the sky somewhere.
Yeah.
So we need to do some studying of this concept of who we are in this self, and then apply it, because you must have some knowledge before your practice. Allah says, know me before you worship me. This is a hadith from Prophet Muhammad. God says, know me before you worship me. Know yourself and then be yourself. Study these ancient scriptures to try to find out who you are.
Yeah.
And once you know the self, be the self.
So it's part of it, from what I'm hearing, is also what we focus on, or where our attention goes. So if the attention is going towards the negative thinking or anger or or these things, if that's what we're taking care of, if that's what we're putting our attention on, then that's what we're creating, rather than
Yeah.
keeping the attention here on the pure self. And
Yes.
yeah,
Why not focus on the good? Why not focus on the self? And be free of attachments to the outer world. My mom used to say, son, don't let the outer temperature influence your inner temperature. She said, you have your own thermometer inside of you that controls the weather. And don't let the weather on the outside influence the weather on the inside. If you're happy on the inside, don't let people being sad on the outside influence your happiness.
yeah.
It's a very good concept.
So it seems like part of the obstacle that I see many people have, and I experience too at sometimes, is there's this sort of confirmation bias. So it's like this idea of, in order to feel a sense of safety, a sense of, oh, okay, I know, how things, there's the brain, there's the part of the brain that wants certainty, wants to know what things are. And
Uh-huh.
so the confirmation is, okay, this experience happened, and so it pulls from the experience. This means this about confirming this about me, and it could be a negative belief. I'm not good enough.
And it's all projection.
And it's confirming this identity, because in the identity there's this sense of, as you say, mistaken, but ego thinks that's what it is. There is this
Yeah.
kind of almost like a satisfaction. Oh, okay, I know. Oh, I'm this not good enough character now. Now I have to become good enough, work on becoming good enough now, and then playing that game over and over. So it sounds like what you're saying is, just don't go into the game, stay,
Yeah.
stay here.
Be the observer. Be the
Yeah,
observer of the movie of life, not an actor in the movie of life.
yeah,
That's a very powerful tool. I tell some of my disciples, observe the dramas of life. Don't be an actor in the drama of life.
yeah,
Just try to be the witness of what's taking place. Look at life as if it is a movie, because it is a movie.
yeah,
Life is a movie playing out on the screen of your mind. Now, whether you want to engage in the movie and have the dramas, or you can meditate, stay within your self-consciousness, and observe the movie.
yeah. And that doesn't mean not to be engaged in life. Like we're still got to go to the supermarket and go to,
Yeah,
do these things.
be fully engaged. That's like saying in the world and not of the world.
Yeah,
Fully engaged in the world. But Prophet Muhammad says, be in the world as a traveler and travel light. Meaning travel light in your concerns about the outside world, because that which is most important is inside of you.
yeah. So I'm just going to check real quick on Facebook just to see if there's any questions. Let's see. Okay, just give me 1 second. Um, and while I'm looking, can you talk? How did you? What led you to this specific spiritual path? Amongst all the other ones that are out there, Christianity,
Yes. How did I get to the Sufi path? I got here because, hold on. Hold on 1 second.
okay. So I didn't see any questions here. again, folks, whoever's listening on the live stream, if you do have any questions, just now's the time, because we're going to wrap it up pretty soon.
So the way I got to Sufism, I was reading Hinduism and Buddhism and Sufism at the same time, studying the ancient texts. And I was blessed that I found out about Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, who was a Sufi master, and then ended up traveling to Senegal. I don't know if you can see Serigne Saliou. Mm-hmm. What happened was a Sufi master showed up in my life. When the Sufi master showed up in my life, I took initiation with the Sufi master and became a practitioner of the Sufi path.
I think your microphone might be covered now, however the phone is, because we. Okay,
let me see. Can you hear it now?
Say something again.
Bismillah, Bismillah.
Yeah, we're kind of losing your audio.
Yeah. What about now? Let me see if I can turn the mic off and on.
Okay, try that.
Bismillah.
There you go.
So what happened, my master just showed up in my life. I took initiation and decided to devote myself to the one path of Sufism, because a lot of us are at the spiritual smorgasbord. We're at the spiritual buffet. We eat a little Buddhism, we eat a little Tantra, we eat a little Hinduism, we take a little bit of the Sufi practices, we take a little bit of the mindfulness practices, but we never get deep enough into the system for realization.
Yeah.
Most people, they dig a small hole in this path, say, oh, it didn't work. They go to the next path, dig a small hole, it didn't work. Go to the next one, dig a small hole, it didn't work. The true way is to pick one path, dedicate yourself to that path, and dig deep to the source of the water, and then you will see that all the paths eventually lead to the same water, which is God.
Yeah.
All paths, all rivers lead to the ocean. The outer form looks different, but the inner reality is the same. So my advice is for seekers is to find one path, find a teacher who can guide you on that path, and dedicate yourself to that path, because once you get to illumination, you'll see that all the traditions have truth inside of it.
Yeah, and you mentioned dedication and devotion, and which seems a big part of the path of Sufism. And I know, from observing you do a lot of work and a lot of different, you're always bringing the teachings to places that, aren't always the nicest places, but you bring them in all areas. I remember seeing you, I picked you up one day on the south side of Mount Vernon, the worst area of Mount Vernon, and you're there outside, with your beads and just talking to whoever's coming along. So there's this dedication to pass on this message. And can you talk a little bit of that devotion and that commitment?
Yeah, this path is for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. In the beginning of the path, we must be selfish. Selfish in the idea that I'm going to focus on myself. I'm going to focus on my realization. Regardless of what my family and friends are doing, I need this realization of God for me. But the first side effect of realization is the concern and compassion for the realization of others. So as soon as you get some divine proximity, as soon as you get some blessings from God in your life, that's going to make you want to share those blessings with others. So first it starts out as a selfish motive. I need to get to God as fast as I can. As soon as you get to God's doorstep, God's going to say, take this message to the other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who are who are all one. So where there is no separation. So it's we're all connected in some way.
Yeah, facts. One story I like to tell is there was a Sufi dervish who asked his sheikh, "What do we do about the others who are not disciples? What do we do about the others?" The sheikh said, "There are no others.
Yeah, exactly.
Do not separate yourself from others based off of your path, because everyone is eventually everyone is on the path to God, whether they know it or not. Either you return to God before you die, or after you die, the process of return starts." So
Yeah.
you're going back. It's just, do you want to get in the car and go now, or you want to get in the car and go later? You're going back to God. There's no way out of it. Allah says in the Holy Quran, "Wailay turja'un," everything is returning to God. Every being is returning back to the source, God. Now you can accelerate that process by taking a path, which is easier than waiting till after you die and then being taken to God.
Mm-hmm.
You take yourself to God, or you die and God takes you back to him. It's either, there's no way out of it. You're going back. You just have to figure out if you want to go willingly, or you want to go after the big bang, the big leaving the body, what they call death. But you're going back.
So there's that saying, die before you die.
The Sufi way of life. Baba Muhammad has a book called Die Before You Die, The Sufi Way of Life. We must die. As they say, Jesus died on the cross, and that is symbolic of him dying to the physical world. The cross represents the four corners, north, south, east, and west. When they say Jesus died on the cross, we don't ascribe to that in Islam. In the Quran, it says he didn't die on the cross, but the story that he died on the cross is a symbol of you dying to your desires for the physical world, north, south, east, and west.
Yeah, beautiful. So we're running out of time. I kind of wanted to go into, but I don't, purification and the 5 T's of tasawwuf, but I don't know. That's probably a talk. That's probably a talk in itself, right? I don't know.
Maybe after a couple months, or if you want to do another show in a couple months on the nuts and bolts of Sufism and the 5 T's, that's a good talk.
Yeah. So we'll save that for another time. How about, since we did have that technical interruption, we didn't get that meditation in there, perhaps you can either lead us in a short guided meditation, a chant that people can follow along with, or whatever you feel in your heart, whatever you feel to do.
I think I would like to chant La ilaha illallah.
Oh, beautiful.
So that people can learn this chant. Chant 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night. If you do that for a week, I guarantee you, this is what we call soul food. If you just chant La ilaha illallah 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night, after the 7th day, your soul is going to want more. You're going to chant more than 5 minutes because your soul will want more. So we'll chant, God is the only reality. There's none worthy of worship but God. And we hope the people can take this chant into their daily lives. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La ilaha illallah. 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 ilaha illallah, la 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 ilaha illallah.
Beautiful.
This is beautiful.
Okay, so I'm just going to make some closing remarks. Again, this is the Facebook Guided Meditations and More page. My name is Ade Richardson. We were sitting down having a discussion with Cheikh Sufi. If you want to learn more about the Sheikh and his teachings, and if you want to purchase his books, I'll post some links to his website and to where you can find his books in the description section of this video. I'll also be posting after I'm going to edit this video and post it on YouTube. I'll send you a copy, and if you have any questions or comments for the Sheikh or for me, you can leave them below this video or send me a direct message. You can, I'm sure the Sheikh will provide an email, right, or some way that people can get.
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram, Cheikh Sufi, CheikHSufi on Instagram. And if they have any questions about the practices, email CheikHSufi@gmail.com. Also, you may find 786sufiwisdom.com is a blog I have with over 100 essays on meditation, Sufism, 786sufiwisdom.com, and the Cheikh Sufi channel for free videos on YouTube.
Great. So, well, I'll put some links in the description section for all of those, for the Instagram and for everything.
Okay.
And let's see, if you enjoy these meditations and you want to be notified about the upcoming meditations or interviews, just like the page and you'll get the notifications. So thank you for joining us today, Sheikh.
Yes.
It was really an honor.
This is very needed. Your platform is very needed. We really appreciate it. Anytime you're having an interview of a guest or anything, if you send me the flyer, I'll promote it and I'll put it up on the Instagram.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any of your shows upcoming, just send me something. I'll post it on Instagram, because people need to be aware of these different spiritual paths. We appreciate the work you're doing. It's a very beautiful effort.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Is there any closing remarks, anything that you wanted to share that you didn't get a chance to?
If I would share something, the mystic path is, you are in a state of emergency and you don't know it. Anyone who hears this type of talk, you have a chance to wake up out of the sleep of duality and realize your true self. You are in a state of prison and you don't even know that you're in prison. The prison is the concepts that you have accepted as truth in your mind. So it's hard to break out of a conceptual prison because you can't see the prison walls.
Yeah.
So my advice is to all of you, find someone who is outside of the matrix so you can get outside of the matrix.